Hello, everybody, and welcome back to 6 Plus Plus. My name's Ben, and we're here once again for another Ben's Wager tournament report. So this weekend just gone, I went to another RTT at Black Dragon Miniatures in Hinckley. Now this is probably one of my local stores. I've played these events quite a lot. Great, lovely team. Uses UKTC terrain. And just a great little shop, to be honest. I quite like going. I had three of my teammates going as well. So we had Glenn, Ash, and PJ on Death Guard for PJ, and both Ash and Glenn were on Legion of Excess. Horrible, gribbly demon boys. Disgusting. We're just going to cover my event again this weekend, see how we got on, what thoughts we had from the list, and what we would change, and we'll go from there. So, without further ado, let's get into my list. So, let me just add this to the scene. Rightio. So very similar to, in fact, exactly the same as my last report. So my list is a Reaper's Wager list. We have two characters in the Archon and the Beast Pack. Then for Battle Line, we fill it out with a unit of 10 Cabalites and 5 Racks. In our transport section, we have a Venom and a Raider, and that will split the Cabalites, allow them to join to the Court of the Archon and the Archon. And then the 5 Good Guns will go with the Court in the Raider, the 5 Idiots go in the Venom. We then have 2 units of 2 Talos with Twin Liquefier and Twin Haywire, and the Talos Gauntlet, because who doesn't love a good punchy damage 3? Then we have a unit of 6 Grotesques, all with Liquefier guns, because Flamers are fun. We have our 2 token Mandrake units for all of the late game scoring, as long as we can keep them alive long enough. 2 units of Scourge, all with Haywire cannons. And a Void Raven Bomber with D-Scythes. Now that rounds out the Drukhari components of the list, and then in the Harlequins components, we have put in 2 Void Weaver tanks from the Harlequins. So for this event, we were using Eldari Codex, and I will go into this at the end, sort of what that might change with the next event, as I am hoping I'll be able to play with the new Eldari stuff. So we'll go into that at the end to discuss what changes, if anything, and where we go from there. So this list sits at about 1990, with the one enhancement being Arch Raider on the Archon, so I can scout his Raider 9 inches. Okay, so for this event, we didn't find out until the morning what missions we were playing, or who we were paired to, or what anyone else's list was. The only information I had going in was probably what my teammates were taking, and that was at best a guess. So for this event, I wanted to get into practice games into Legion of Excess. I dabbled in some changes. I've looked at perhaps 10 Witches with a Succubus in this detachment in the Raider. Um, I had a little play, and in the end, I decided if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I did get a practice game into Demons, and I got my ass handed to me with this list. However, some learning points from that game did make me feel this list absolutely has the legs to deal with Legion of Excess. So, without ado, into the first game of the event. So we were playing the lovely Alex. Now, Alex was playing Grotmus Detachment, Hallow Screed, Admech. And we were playing on Take and Hold with hidden supplies, with the deployment being Search and Destroy, as you see on the map on the screen. Now, Alex, I think, is fairly fresh to the tournament scene. His list was, there was Call, there was some Castle and Robots, there was some of the little guys on wheels with plasma cannons. I'm sorry, that's really not super helpful. He had some fly guys, he had some electro priests, there were some dogs, there was some chicken cannons, no, some chickens with combat. It was a bit of a mismatch of stuff, but stuff that could hurt all the same. Now, I'd not played Hallow Screed Admech before, so I wasn't really sure how to take it. But sort of as he started to reel off the stuff it could do, it scared me less and less. And then obviously we did a talk. And I chatted through all of my bits, and sort of hopefully put us on a bit of an even playing field. However, it was not to be the case. My beast pack charged in his deployment zone turn one, and I killed some Skitari and some of the guys with wings, and then ended up tagging up his breaches. That's the ones. These little breaches. I ended up tagging the breaches. And they did kill most of the beast pack down. I think it took me down to one razor wing, but it was enough to just tag them up so they couldn't then move out and shoot again. And it let me get a massive foothold on the board. So I had pretty much did go first in this. So I had pretty much by the end of my turn two, I think I had stickied all three objectives on the left with scouting raiders and cavalites in transports. So I locked down that board nice and early. Um, unfortunately for Alex, he was pretty much tabled at the start of round four. Um, so it didn't quite go his way, and I think his lack of experience into Drukhari showed through there. And it was it felt a bit mean in the end. However, we are running on 2.5 hour rounds, so everything does tend to get a little bit more intense on a shorter round time limit. But anyway, so we've won our first one, and the this tournament goes off of pairing battle points rather than just win path. So it's not random within your win path; it is battle points, and whoever has scored the most next to you going down. Which did unfortunately mean I paired into my teammate Ashley. Now, Ashley is playing horrible Legion of Excess Demons. So his list is Shalaxi, two Keepers of Secrets, one with some -1 to wound jank or +1 to wound jank, the other one that can heal up after it kills a unit. Then had, I think, about 15 Fiends, 10 Screamers, I want to say they are. Scout 9, move 14. They're horrible. They do Beast Pack better, but with less wounds. He has some Nurglings to sticky and hold his backfield. He has the Mask and one unit of Demonettes. And that rounds out the list, really. Now, having played this matchup before, I was sort of very, very much aware of how much hurt these keepers and Shalaxi can put on me. So the plan was going in, I need to sort of kill as much of the other stuff as I can, and mitigate losses where I could. Um, it was going to be a slog, and this was never going to be a massively convincing victory for me. But a few mistakes from me and Ash would absolutely wipe the floor with me. So what sort of ended up happening was he pushed with Shalaxi, his Scout and Nine Screamers, and the Keeper. He sort of ended up in the mid board, turn one, ready to set up some turn two charges everywhere. So I had a turn to shoot and prepare and get in. So I shot and I advanced out my grotesque with the advance and charge strat, and I wanted to charge the chariot he'd brought into the middle. I wanted to kill both units of screamers. I wanted to kill the demonettes as well with the beast pack. So what ended up happening was the beast pack charged into the demonettes on his natural expansion objective. He then heroics with his keeper. So I then only killed 9 demonettes and lost the beast pack in return. I killed the unit of seekers in the middle, and took the chariot down to 4 wounds. I then failed a re-rollable charge with the grotesque to kill those. Um, and then lastly, the other seeker unit that was on my natural expansion objective, took a bit of void weaver shooting, and took it down to 1 model left, which was unfortunate. It didn't quite go as planned in that regard for me, which meant I then lost out on secure no man's land. I wasn't going to try for sabotage, as it was one of those cases, unfortunately, where wherever I tried to sabotage, he would be able to touch. So I felt very much on the back foot at this point. I was concerned for where this game was going to go for me, but we obviously let the game roll out. He then made a few charges in with Shalaxi and some Fiends. He brought another unit of Fiends in from Deep Strike. He brought the other Keeper in from Deep Strike. He did some shooting, killed a few bits, and did some charges and cleared up another few bits. But thankfully, thanks to Fight on Death, when he did charge the 6 Fiends in, I killed most of the unit with the Grotesques on return. He did pick up a Void Weaver, and he picked up a few other bits, got a couple of charges in with the Keepers. I think he got one of the Wound Keepers in. And thankfully, the Keepers and Shalaxi had been doing some wounds to themselves with hazardous shooting, so that made my job a little bit easier. But unfortunately, with a 4 pinball and 5 at Feel No Pain, that is not anywhere near easy enough as I would like. So going into my turn 2, I had a massive turn. So I've got Assassinate and I've got no prisoners, so I need to kill stuff. Which is great. I think I did rapid ingress my plane in at the back, just pretty much behind my home objective. So it had a turn to move, do some bombing, and shoot some stuff off. So I moved the plane over, looking at his natural expansion objective, looking at these Demonettes, and I thought, they should be able to kill that. So I went with the D6 blast profile into the Demonettes. He had recovered some of them at this point by passing the battle shock, and I think I got 4 shots, and I killed 3 out of the 4. So I took it back down to 1, which kind of hurt because again, it keeps his primary on the go. He's also now burning with his chariot on my natural expansion, again, which is going to hurt my primary quite quickly. Um, I've brought in pretty much all of my reserves at this point, and I've lined absolutely every bit of shooting and combat up that I can feasibly bring, including Mandrakes, all of the Haywires, Scourge, the Talos. I brought my Venom in from Deep Strike, and I had to go for it. I had to try and kill as much as I could. So I killed 3 Fiends. I didn't kill the Chariot at this point. I had shot Shalaxi down, and I ended up charging Shalaxi. I think I did kill a Keeper on this turn, hence getting my Assassinate points, which was huge. I did make another charge into the other Keeper, which sort of left it tied up with a Talos for another turn, which was okay. We were fine with that, and I had cleared off the middle of the board again with some plain shooting from the D sides, cleared out the rest of the Fiends. Shalaxi was down to about 10 wounds, I think, at this point, and she fought back, put everything she could into the Archon. I think she killed the Medusae in her normal combat with her extra attacks, and with her precision full hit and wound rerolls, didn't fail to actually kill the Archon out of the unit because Shadowfield saves. Sometimes you roll a 1, sometimes you won't roll any, and that Archon did live till the end of the game. So what it meant was I was tied in combat, and I was looking in quite a good position from this point. He does, however, get his burn off, and he does fail to score Assassinate for his turn 3. It's in a case of I kill Shalaxi in his turn 3 with my fights first. He charges in with the Mask and the Chariot, so they're now very orchestrated, touching the Archon, which is great. I don't feel any battle shock. I have been in shadows a lot of the game, and there's a lot of good stuff here. But there's just 1 Keeper left to deal with, another unit of 3 Fiends, and some Plague Bearers on his home objective. So I'm feeling fairly confident about this. I just need to get a foothold on this primary now to start racking up my points. My secondaries were doing fantastic, and there was plenty of space for the Mandrakes to keep whizzing around, scoring what they need to score. So comes down to round 4. I've got Storm Hostile and my round 3 actually. Storm Hostile and Extend Battle Lines. So what happens is I move a unit of Scourge past a Keeper looking to take his natural expansion objective. I need to shoot the Demonette off there to put that down to OC2, so I can get my OC3. I can get 3 Scourge on there and take that. So I shoot some Haywires at the Keeper, and this is where a bit of luck goes my way. I think realistically, what probably wins me the game in the long run of it. What happens here is I get 9 devastating wounds through on the Keeper, of which he passes 2. So this now puts this Keeper down to 2 wounds remaining, which is huge. This is now mighty killable. This is one grenade stratagem away from dying, which is fantastic. So I score my points. So we move on to his turn. He picks up the Scourge, picks up a lot of the other stuff. I have 2 units of Mandrakes left. I have 2 units of Mandrakes left. I have my Venom with 5 Cavalites in, 2 Scourge, and my Archon left pretty much at this point. He fails his battle shock, so it doesn't unsticky my home objective, which again is massive for me. Is absolutely huge. Um, so I get primary in turn 4. If he doesn't fail his battle shock, it goes a different way. But he does. So we move on. At the end of the game, he moves on to my home objective, attempts to start a burn. Now, this keeper is down to about 3 wounds remaining, or possibly slightly more. No, 5 wounds remaining. He killed a unit, took some wounds back, and then moved on to my home objective to try and burn it over a couple of turns. So what happens again? I brought all the shooting down I could. He made my plane fly off the board, so I brought that back in. And it's literally just this keeper and the plague bearers left at this point. So I grenade strap the keeper. I shoot the keeper with Cabalites. I shoot the keeper with 10 Mandrakes. And then the final bit of shooting with this keeper on 1 wound is from my Void Raven Bomber. Now he does pop the stratagem. If you fail your battle shock, sir, you are not being able to shoot me. If you pass your battle shock, you're -1 to hit. So he pops that. I pass my battle shock test. Inspired leadership makes a difference. I rolled a 6 on the dice, and because he didn't have Shadows of the Warp up in No Man's Land, but he does get a -1 from the stratagem. The 6 was able to pass because he was within 9 inches of my Archon at that point that was still alive, who is my Warlord. So I was able to shoot. I did put lethal wounds on, and I just fished. And I think he ended up failing about 3 saves, so I had to take 6 feel no pains. Unfortunately, he does fail at least one of them, kills the keeper, and I win the game by 1 point. Now, this game was an absolute slog. And Ash, if you're listening, it was a game for the ages. We were having quite a good laugh and a joke because our teammates were playing on the 2 tables next to us. So we were having a good laugh and a joke. And then, sort of, end of round 3, game faces came in, and we were just down. It was pure sweat. You could see the sweat dripping everywhere. It was intense. But you know what? I don't think either of us could have played that any differently or any better. We both left it on the table. Fantastic game. However, we did finish pretty much dead on time, and there was a 5-minute break between round 2 and round 3, which meant we did not have a lot of time to rest and recover, ready for the next round. So my next round pairing, I was one of 4 undefeated at this point. So I am into Colin. Now Colin is playing Grotmust Detachment Warriors Bioform. His list was insane. It boggled my mind. So he had a Neurotyrant, 60 Tyranid Warriors, 2 of 6 combat, and I think 5x3 shooting. I'd have to check the list exactly, but there's roughly that many warriors. 3 Exocrines, 3 Tyrannofexes, 3 Lictors, and a Biovore. This is a pretty chunky list, especially with all the warriors having a 5 pinball. They suddenly do become a little bit more resilient. So a lot of battle line, and on we were playing Scorched Earth again, and on short boards, he's definitely got the reach to be out there charging and shooting me quite quickly with all these monsters. Colin, I think, had a bit of experience with into Drukhari before, so he sort of deployed accordingly, had his monsters front line, and he's playing very carefully with his warriors. What in the end ended up happening? So I locked down my, not quite locked down my natural expansion, but I sort of had my Court of the Archon sat behind the wall, so that every time he threw something on, he would have to get more than 10 OC on there. He couldn't just charge me to remove me, and I could hopefully just keep shooting and throwing some combat that way to keep knocking that off, to keep denying him any extra primary. My game here was deny him primary, and go in second, play cagey, play defensively, and just keep pushing to deny his primary each turn. Unfortunately, didn't quite go for the full length here, but I was in a very strong position at the end of round four, so I'm fairly confident saying that I would have gone on to win this game anyway. Having denied him having denied him all primary in round three, thanks to the Void Raven bomber coming in and killing off the Bivore that was sat on his home objective, was the only thing there. I kept throwing units out to deny the rest of his primary. As I thankfully I did get the win, but we did hit dice down. But as I say, I think I'd lost 3 units by the end of round four, so I definitely had a good argument to push on, and take quite a convincing victory here. And I think we were both fairly happy with where the game ended, and how it would have ended. But we didn't want to tot up extra scores and give ourselves extra scores because we've no idea. Dice and cards and whatnot could change a game completely, but we're fairly confident that was a fair reflective score of how the game felt and went. We had Haywire's killer Tyrannifex again from the Scourge. Scourge are picking up some big names this weekend with things that they had no business trying to kill. Apparently, sometimes if you just roll sixes to wound, it does some work for you. But that does finish off the event. Again, yeah, a great event. The Black Dragon crew are fantastic. We love going there. It's sort of as a team, as for Trash Wargaming, we go there quite a lot to play games, to play tournaments there. So this is how we finished up. I did finish second. Um, I think knowing it was always going to be hard to finish first after that second game. I think with another Legion of Excess totting about that can also just push massive scores into unawares people. It was going to be hard. I would have had to have scored pretty much 300 on the nose to have finished first. So I did get second. However, and my team took first, second, third, and fourth at this event out of 24 players, which is just a great finish. Glenn came first with Legion of Excess Demons, absolutely smashing it. He played about 3 games with it coming into the weekend, and I think he's fallen in love with it now. So much so that he's trying to get a ticket to Manchester, and trying to get out of some dog sitting duties. But don't tell anyone that just yet. And like I say, I finished second. PJ finished third, who his only loss actually came from Davey of 6++ Bugwatch fame and Bloodwatch fame. He did lose to Davey in round one in what was a really tight game, and I will share the little anecdote just so he doesn't feel so bad. I watched and sat Morty have to take about 15 feel no pains, and he passed, I think, about one. It was disgusting. It was not good. But kind of funny as well, because we all like to laugh at our teammates' pain. And then Ashfarn, who I beat in the second round, as I say, his only loss was to me. And again, another great show in finishing fourth there. Glenn did beat Davey in round three, which it is unfortunate. Demons are going to do what demons do, and they are a bit of a menace at the moment, with probably one of the highest win rates in the game, I think, other than 10th edition, start of 10th Eldar, maybe. That might be an exaggeration, but they're very strong and a very hard army to deal with for the majority of players. So let me get back to here, and we will remove that. So going forward, now the changes in the list again. I think I'm pretty much on the fence of saying the list isn't going to change. So with Void Weavers gaining 18-inch lone operative, that's 4 units of the army that are just going to shoot with no interaction for hopefully 5 turns of the game. So I want them to stay. It's how I accommodate. I think I need to make 5 points to accommodate them in. Now, there's 2 solutions that jump to mind. Racks get upgraded or downgraded depending on what you think to a Kronos. However, the Kronos doesn't quite comfortably sit at the back and hold your home objective and screen out a good portion of the board for you. The other option is getting rid of Arch Raider on the Archon, which is a 15-point enhancement for the 9-inch of Scout. I think immediately I'm thinking of swapping to the Kronos and see what we can do with that. I'm not entirely convinced that's the move. I think it might have to be dropping Arch Raider. But so far, I have enjoyed both. So I'm quite sad to see them go. Um, but I think that's where it is. I do want to try New Troop. New Troop do look fantastic. With the ability to pick either +1 to wound, I think it's reroll ones to hit, or be -1 to hit, and with devastating wounds built in, they can advance and charge in this detachment, get sustained hits in this detachment, lethal hits. That's so good, so good. Fusion pistols just getting upgraded. I think they're a pretty good skirmishy trading unit at this point, especially with the rerolls from Reapers that they're getting most of the time anyway. I definitely think they're worth a look at. But for the time being, I'll test them. But I think I'm quite happy with how optimized my list is. I need to see what this change in points does and affects the way the list plays. I say I think the simplest solution might just be to drop Arch Raider, um, but I don't know how much that's going to affect the way my game goes. So yeah, it's something I need to test out and see. Um, but that is it, really. I'm excited to try. I think my next event is an event I'm running. So I'm running an event at Elite Gaming Lounge. Just again, a 1 day RTT on UKTC terrain. It'll be ITC, UKTC ranked. I think we're pretty much full up for that now, but I'll be playing in that as well. Um, Hopefully, we'll see how we get on with that. Maybe I'll get some good results there. Maybe I won't. Who knows? I'm sure there'll be a scream of it's a fix if I do well. Uh, but we'll see how we go. Following that, though, we have the 6++ GT in March. I think it's March 15th at Prestige Wargaming. And we'll see how we go there. And hopefully, I can stick with a similar sort of list that I'm quite well practiced into now. I just like having so much shooting platform with combat when I need it. But pushing on from that, that just take me up to second place, Drukhari, in the UKTC rankings for this event, um, which is an ambition of mine this year. I do want to take #1 spot for UKTC Drukhari. I would love to make a claim for ITC #1. However, Scary exists. And with Scary pushing to be #1 overall ITC might be a stretch. However, never say never. I'll be coming for you, Scary. Um, but yes, so that is all my goal this year. I'm 6 points behind first at UKTC rankings, and it's a long season. Obviously, we've got until LGT, but I'm in a pretty good place at the minute. I've got a pretty low fourth score in there, so that can quite easily be flipped and changed to another 100+ score. So let's see how we go. But I'm laying out my ambitions now. The internet has heard I am pushing for UKTC rankings #1 Drukhari this year. So I'm not going to Harlequins. Mind blown. Who'd have known? Um, but yeah, so that is that. So if you want to comment below, if you've got any thoughts on the list, any list ideas, how you think you'd fare into these matchups, or any tips for some of these matchups, because Tyranids and Demons is hardcore, right? It is horrible for Drukhari. We do not like that in the slightest. Um, so, any tips, any comments, questions, if you just want to say hi, say hello, I will reply. Um, if you can leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, become a member even. I think we just hit 100 members this past week, which is fantastic. So let's keep that gravy train rolling. I'm hearing Tom and Chris want to film Warhammer on a yacht in Monaco, which I kind of hope they take me with them in their suitcase. So, the more members, the more likely it is that I might get to Monaco too. Yeah, leave a like, subscribe, and we'll catch you for the next wager. Ma, goodbye.